Hi, this is the Be Well with Michelle Greenwell podcast. Our heartwarming conversation is designed to lift you on your wellness journey. Grab your cup of tea and enjoy the podcast. Today, I'm joined by a colleague that has been leading the way in special tools and techniques that help to bring balance and harmony to the body, the mind, and the spirit. Linda Easthouse is an award-winning author of 2 books that have traveled the globe and a special research project with natural bioenergetics. Her books have been Amazon bestsellers, as well as received just recently the Legacy Leader Awards for 2024 with Can Be Well, the Canadian Association of BioEnergetic Wellness. So I want to share a bit more about Linda before we dive in here. She is a stress management coach, an energy medicine professional, and a radionics master. With nearly 15 years of experience as a natural bioenergetic specialist, she helps people change their patterns so that they can meet their goals. Using therapies, they restore the body, mind, and spirit, and she assists people to take control of the stresses, establish healthy patterns, and gain control over the success and health. Many athletes and business owners seek her assistance to optimize their performance and outcomes. Linda is teaching natural bioenergetics levels from 1 to 10, as well as intrusive energies, geobiology, organoids, and more. She also trains and assists advanced students who want to learn the complementary art of radionics. Linda loves finding the science behind what she does, and she takes those topics deep so that people can understand them at a simple level. So I wanted to say all that before I said hello to you, Linda, because I'm just in awe at the different kinds of things that you do in this field. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Before we get started, we want to set in place an opportunity for you, the listener, to have some self-care and a little bit of balancing while we're talking about our conversation today. And so, Linda, what have you put in your mug today to bring to the conversation?
This has what is called Siete Azares, which is 7 blossoms. And it is a blend of 7 blossoms of plants that grow in Mexico that create a wonderful antiviral energy tonic, which just kind of help your whole body maintain a nice peak energy state. It's not caffeine, but it gives you that real herbal boost, and it's all about maintaining vitality.
Ooh, lovely. Can you describe a little bit what the flavor is? I'm curious.
It's kind of a mixed flavor. It has some citrus notes in it. It has passion fruit in it, so you get that kind of sweet sour taste as well. It's a very soft flavor. It doesn't have any mint in it, which is interesting. So you don't have that minty spike, but you have a little bit of sweet sour to it. And then of course, it includes cinnamon, which is one of my favorites. So it's a very mellow but complex blend of flavors.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. And I wanted to bring my mentor, our colleague, into the conversation. So I've chosen the blend that I had created for Greg Webb. So I've got Playtime with me today, a little bit of black tea. And this one, it has chocolate and mint with apple blossoms in it. So this is totally different from what you've selected, which is really interesting as we go into this conversation, because we have the dichotomy of these 2 tea blends, which is really neat. The affirmation that's on this, I'm just going to read it off the package here. Every day is precious and inspiring when offering love and joy to others in all that you do. And I know the way that you put your life together and the way that you're leading natural bioenergetics through the Institute, that's a way that you bring everything forward. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of fitting for the way that we could bring it together today. And I want to highlight the apple blossoms. So this was, Greg loved to travel to the Okanagan Valley, and apple blossoms in April, May, they're just spectacular, along with cherry blossoms too. But the apple blossoms spiritually lift us up for longevity and focus to our day, which I think is also interesting because we've got the long-term piece, which you and I are working towards with the way that we bring our tools forward. And then we have this other piece, which is allowing people to be mindful and present in their days and that peacefulness that comes with it. And I'm combining that with the hazelnut that is with the black tea, which supports embracing the gift of magical thinking, reconnecting us to nature and to its wisdom. And I believe this kind of lends itself to the way that we're working. It's not that we do magic, but so many magical kinds of things result for people in the way that they live their lives. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I love hazelnut. That's one of my favorites. And I love the concept that we play in the energy because that's what we do. I don't like to tell people we practice it because we're not just practicing it as get better at it, but we're there to play and create and bring forth new things and open up new ways and make it very light and open as opposed to, well, I need to do this and then I need to do this and then I need to do this. And so that those play concepts really fit well with how I like to look at energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So with the blend you have in your hands, cheers. And to those people listening, we hope that you've got something good in your mug. All right. So now we can get started on this conversation. You have 2 award-winning books. That is such an amazing feat. So congratulations.
Amazing. Every time I think about it.
I know it's kind of like the books are there, but then you go, yeah, they did win something. Yeah. Can you tell me about Push the Reset Button? Because this is a copy that people can have in their hands right away. And I want you to be able to share the gifts of it.
We want everyone to have that. I originally created this book thinking about my clients, and particularly the young adult clients in my practice of natural bioenergetics and other things, in that so many of them really kind of needed some life skills, energetic life skills. They needed the understanding and the option to learn what's going on around them in their environment in terms of their home, their food, their exercise, their diet, all these things where a lot of young adults really didn't have much of a training at home or much of a basis of how to do things. And so I created this specifically for my clients, particularly young adults, but I found actually a lot of people up in their 40s and 50s are really enjoying this book as well. That's where, at this point, that's where most of the downloads come from. But a lot of young adults also get it. I give it to all of my clients. Many of my practitioners give it to all of their clients. The idea was I wanted to create something you could do a little bit every day to build new habits. I come at it from the philosophy that trying to tell people they need to eliminate this and detox that and get rid of that and change this and not do that and not do this, people get overwhelmed and lost and they don't do anything. And so my approach is add this one thing in and then add this one thing in. And what you find is you add in all the things that you want to be doing and start using the things you want to use and start eating the way you want to eat. A lot of these other things just fall away on their own. You don't have to consciously get rid of them, or you don't have to consciously work at eliminating them. You just have to replace them with something more beneficial. And so that's kind of the concept of the book is it's set up as a 30-day challenge. I recognize now that most people can't do it in 30 days. Most people do it 1 chapter a month. And they work through little tiny bites. There's 5 bites for each day. You can do 1 bite each day, or you can do all 5 or any combination of them. But it just gives you little things to do every day that'll help move you forward into a place where your life is actually more like you want it to be, where you've eliminated a lot of the toxins. You've got a diet that is a lifestyle that's sustainable for the rest of your life, as opposed to, well, I'm going to do a diet for 6 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, and then quit a week later. It's the awareness of the ability to read labels and know what you're looking for and what things to avoid and what not to avoid, and how to make choices when you go into a store and you're overwhelmed by all these products. How do you know which ones are right for you? And so that's the purpose of the book. And I've found most people have found it very helpful for them.
Beautiful. And I love, well, first of all, I love the fact that you realized 30 days is quick because I feel the same sometimes. The tools are so simple and small, but you really do want to play with them for a little bit to get to know them, because that's how they become a part of your day, is they become little pieces of your day. And I love how you've been able to spread that out, but then it becomes a longevity piece with no effort. Yeah.
The point is to build new sustainable habits and create a lifestyle that you actually like and where you feel good and are productive and able to do the things you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something you do, by reading a book cover to cover or doing a boot camp for a week. That's something that has to be built over a period of time until they become sustainable habits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's move to your second book, which also is an award winner, The Story of Hope. Can you share how this book might be able to inspire people?
Well, I love this book because it is a collection from all of our senior, not all, but from a bunch of our senior practitioners around the world who are sharing the stories of their real clients. So this isn't just, well, we'd love it to do this, we want it to do that. These are actual stories of individual clients who agreed to have their stories told with each practitioner. And you can see the great variety of how practitioners work and how clients come and what they do and how we approach things and what can be accomplished with energy tools and bioenergetic wellness. And so it simply tells the story. I think there's 13 different stories in there of different clients and the different things they want. And so as you read through that, you begin to understand the power of bioenergetic wellness, or the power of how these kinds of changes work. And you see what's going on in the different sessions. And so it helps people who don't know anything about it be less afraid of doing this kind of work, because they can see what actually went on in the sessions. They can see what words the person approached, how they did it, what was used. And we tried to sort of demystify what natural bioenergetics is and make it more accessible to people so that they understand what they're getting into and recognize, yes, that I can do that. That works for me. And wow, those are changes that are possible. I thought I could never change that, but here this person did. So yeah, clearly you can change it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the approach in it. And we're very grateful to all our various authors who contributed to it. Brian Matthews, who is the chairman of our board for Natural Bioenergetics Global, and I did, kind of put it all together, where the editors were the theme through it, et cetera. But it's really the stories of all our advanced practitioners and their clients and what's going on in the world of bioenergetic wellness around the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so as people are listening and thinking that maybe they just can't find the right tools, already you've offered two different perspectives for people to start to realize there are these other tools out there that exist, have been used, have been verified, and have made profound differences for people. And it's just lovely to know, too, the inspiration that can come from somebody else's story. Because a lot of people think they have to go on their own, but it isn't. We want to be connecting to other people to help us along that road to health. And
so many people have been told, well, you're just going to have to live with that. It's just the way it is, and that's happened, and now you're just going to have to live with that. You have to figure out how to manage it. And we wanted to tell these stories to say, no, you don't have to do that in all cases. There are many alternative ways to look at some of these things, and there are ways to change the outcomes. There are ways to make what's going on different. You don't have to be stuck where you are. And as much as you might have been told, well, you can't do anything about that, there is no, quote, cure for it, there are many things you can do to make your life much more fulfilling and move beyond some of these things where we've been told in the past that there was nothing you can do. Well, there's lots of things you can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so we've kind of weaved in and out of the tools, and we've talked a little bit about the tea. So can you share a little bit about natural bioenergetics approach with nature and the connection that you have for people with that?
I think our biggest connection with that is that we really want people connected to the world and grounded into reality. but we also want them touching the heavens and bringing the two together. So we teach a lot of grounding tools, and in the books you will see that. And we teach you several different grounding tools in pushing the reset button. You can go learn to do them yourself. It's all there. But beyond that, we want people to be in a right relation with themselves, with those around them, and the earth. And to do that, you have to find ways to bring the resonance back to an equal plane. And so if you're not vibrating at the right resonance, then you won't connect to the earth in the same way. You won't connect to other people in the same way. You won't ground yourself down and gain the benefits of having that electromagnetic connection to the earth, which means you won't be able to open up your connection to the heavens either. And so we want this flow between the two going on all the time. And there are simple exercises you can do for that. There are also very complex, deep emotional and spiritual work that gets done around that. And we find that as people do their work, they become more connected naturally, and they naturally begin to want more outside time. They want to naturally connect more to trees and sand and earth and flowers. And so we really want people to have this balance in all aspects of their lives. And that is often, sometimes we use herbs, sometimes we use foods. I'm a big believer in food is your best medicine. And we want you to be eating things that actually nourish you, real things, not processed things, things that come from real plants and animals and whatever it comes from. And so those connections become very important. And so we have what we call adjunctives, which are like things you do at home to support the work you do in sessions. Mm-hmm. We know perfectly well if somebody's in a very stressed, difficult home situation, they may have a lot of electromagnetic fields issues there. They might have a lot of angry people there. They might have a difficult work situation. They can be in a very difficult situation, and they come and they do some wonderful work with us, and they go straight back into that situation. It's going to kind of wipe it out really fast. And so we have what we call adjunctives, where we test out what does your body actually need for support in order for you to make gains in this. And so we'll test out how can we help the electromagnetic situation? How can we help with the anger that they're being exposed to? How can we help in the relationships that are there? We have a lot of tools that will help create the right frequencies and vibrations for people to actually change that environment so that they can really integrate and deepen the work that they're doing in the sessions.
I love that. I'm thinking about most people when they looking at their self-care and what they need, they're not thinking about how they're going to walk back into that situation where they have to keep reacting to these stressful situations. But then to be able to have the energy large enough that those situations just kind of bounce off. And they, that's not on anybody's radar. They're always thinking about how do I fix me? How do I fix me? But it's really how do I make myself so much bigger? And then how does that then affect all the people around me? It's
and that's so really profound. The sort of the core underlying principle of natural bioenergetics, which is one of the bioenergetic wellness approaches and the one that I use. And that is that we don't want to try and protect people from everything around them and put them into this little bubble and isolate them. We want to strengthen their system so that they're resilient enough that no matter what's in their situation, they will respond appropriately. Their body will handle it. They won't have allergy reactions. They won't have anger fits. They won't have fear and anxiety, but their own system becomes resilient and strong enough that those things simply don't bother them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, as you're listening and you're thinking about that, and if you're thinking about what situation you might be sitting in and how you are influenced by the different environments you're going in and out of, I'm hoping you're picking up some tools and tips and thinking about this can be different and how this can help. So let's move over to Natural Bioenergetic Institute, because you have a major role in the way that all the education unrolls with these tools. You want to talk about that?
Sure. I'm currently the director of the Natural Bioenergetics Institute, and that is one arm of Natural Bioenergetics Global, which is the nonprofit that oversees natural bioenergetics worldwide. And the Natural Bioenergetics Institute is responsible for the development of curriculum and training. So I've had a big hand over the last, 9 years now in revamping, rewriting, updating, bringing into the modern world all of the curriculum that Dr. Jimmy Scott left us. We started way back in 2015 on the update process, and we're slowly getting to the end of that. But we recognize that a lot of bioenergetic wellness stuff, what used to be called health kinesiology, which used to be in the kinesiology world before that all changed, was rooted back in the 60s and 70s. And we know so much more now. We understand things differently. And so we wanted to really change the way things were done. And in the past, all the classes were done in person. All the classes were done hands-on, and you had to go somewhere to get your training. For instance, I live in Canada at the time. There was nothing being taught there. I did all my training in San Francisco and in the UK and some in New York. It makes it really prohibitive for most people to get trained. And one of our goals was to enable this to be done on a virtual platform. However, we don't believe that just watching videos and doing a little thing and sending it in kind of self-serve style was sufficient for proper training. So our classes are taught online, but they're live video where you actually have to be online participating, and you have to go practice that on a real person, someone that is there for you to practice on, and then send us confirmation of that kind of stuff. So it's very rigorous training, and we've figured out ways to make that all happen. And we're very grateful for the modern technology that allows that to happen, because we now have clients around, students around the world because of that ability to do that. And it allows us to have in-person classes when we want to and online classes when we want to. And that really allows us a greater audience. So we've updated the curriculum to function in that kind of a situation. We've also updated it all to recognize that people's understanding of what bioenergy is, people's understanding of how our biofield works, what they can do, the power of their own intention, the power of their own work on their mindset and belief, and the power of those kinds of things has changed significantly. We don't need to teach so much about that anymore because people already know it. And so then we're looking at how do we move them from what they already know to the next level. And we've also recognized that for many people, having access to tools that will help them do that is significantly beneficial. We don't need to do it all manually. Yes, our practitioners need to know how to do it manually because they really need to understand the energy of all the meridian points and of the acupressure points in the system. But when you're working with somebody else or someone, particularly in self-care, they don't need all that. They need to know that we know it and put it into a tool that they can use. And that's kind of how we've been proceeding in the last 5 years. Is yes, practitioners need deep training. Clients, people looking for self-care, people doing what they can for themselves, need techniques that they can do on themselves whenever they want to, and they need tools that will move them forward in a different way that allows them to access all these patterns and energies that other people that we know about, but they don't need to know all the details of the science behind it. They just need to hold the tool and let it vibrate into their system. And so we've really tried to move things forward with that optimization of tools are available, while we also have the more in-depth scientific training for our practitioners, but we want both sides to be there.
Mm-hmm. And again, for the listeners thinking about this for a moment, is that we've lived in this model where we have these higher authorities that tell us how we are. And what you're saying is you can take the training and be present with all these tools for your personal self-care, but you can also, if you really love it, dive in deeper.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say that again for people, because I think so many people still are in that place of, I have to wait for someone to tell me how I am. Instead, with what you're saying, with all these tools being available, the books that you've written, everything is right there for people to put in their fingertips. If that's what they choose, they don't have to wait for anybody, and they can start to really find out what those tools mean for them.
Correct. And one of the things we're doing right now, and we're about to launch the first course of it, we're creating a set of courses that are strictly self-care. It will not get you the ability to be a practitioner, but it will teach you how to recognize, read, and respond to your own energy, how to program some of your own energy, how to clear your own energy, how to use muscle monitoring to tell what's going on for you. Like, how do you know when something bothers you as an allergy or a tolerance? Most people guess, or they have a particular symptom or whatever, but they have no way of really testing anything on the body. We can teach you that easily. And then we have ways to manage that without having to do anything else. So we're putting together this online course set that will be just online. You go watch the videos, you do the little assignments, you use the tools that are provided there, and you'll learn all that for yourself. And the first course is all about muscle response monitoring and how to balance the body and ensure that your entire biofield is running properly to clean yourself up. Then we're working on courses that will do, how to deal with allergies, how to deal with figuring out what your diet needs to be, what's working for you, what isn't working for you, what foods serve you, what foods don't serve you. One on electromagnetic fields for all the people who are sensitive to what's going on there and how they can protect themselves, what tools are available, how to strengthen their own system so it isn't as bothered by those things. And we have a series of 7 courses laid out that over the next year or two will roll out for everyone. And that's strictly self-care. You can just go watch those, do them, benefit from them. And then if you decide to become a practitioner, you'll have to take the practitioner training, which is much more in depth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. we have lots for people to think about. Can you offer an idea of a tool? So I'm just thinking people listening, and we brought in the tea, we brought in the affirmation to be able to play and find joy. What's a really simple tool that you could offer right now that would just kind of lock in the opportunity for people to think how they can start to really empower their self-care?
Well, I think one of the simplest things that people can do is to learn to do the thymus tapping, because that will bring your whole energy system into balance and attunement. It's basically telling your thymus, hey, wake up and do your job, which is communicate with all the different parts. And to do that, we do it a little different than some other people do in natural bioenergetics. And we have our scientific reasons for doing it this way, but it's, many varieties work. We just choose this one. And that is to simply take your 4 fingers, put your hand over your thymus here, and basically this circle around where the middle part of your hand would be is the area we want to use. And we're simply going to tap in a counterclockwise direction. So you're the clock and you're going to move the hands backwards. And just in that circle right over, and the thymus is right there in the middle underneath that big breastbone. So you're going from your collarbone down to about the width of your hand down, and just tap on that. You want to actually feel it thump. You're not looking for a gentle touch. You want to actually, because you're going through a big bone, to tell that thymus gland underneath there, wake up and do your job. Check in with all of the meridians, check in with all the aspects of the body, and make sure they're talking to each other. And that's what they'll do. And so you do that for 30 seconds to a minute, or until you feel a sigh or a yawn or some indication that the energy has shifted. And that alone will bring you clarity. It will increase the blood flow to your head, into your brain. It will get all the various organ systems talking to each other, because when things get stressed, they go offline to protect themselves. And this tells them, hey, back to work. You're supposed to be doing something for me here. And you just simply tap that there until you feel it shift. And then you're done. And you can do that as many times a day as you want. So what did you notice?
Well, I had a nice deep breath. So I didn't yawn. I thought I was going to, but then it was a nice deep breath. And then it was like, yeah. And then my spine started to go longer. So with my background in movement, usually I notice somehow the body's going to shift. And it was to go taller, lift up, separate all the vertebra, and put some space in. And it's just when stress is there, you just kind of compact down. And this was the opportunity to let that go. That's what I experienced. Yeah.
Beautiful. So that's one of the first things that we teach people, because that's so beneficial just for getting through the daily events of the day, of life. One of the other ones that we like to teach people early on, and they'll be in the self-care courses as well, is what we call the emotional stress release. And we do it differently. Everybody has their own reasons for doing it the way they do it, right? But we add some extra points to it compared to the way most of the other BioEnergetic Wellness ones do it, because Dr. Scott did a study on doing them the way the original specialized kinesiology taught it, and the way he tested out that it needed to be. And doing it with these extra points increases the oxygenation in the blood and in the brain by almost 3 points. So if your oxygenation was at 90, doing it this way will take you to 93. So if it was at 85, which is really low for people, you could get up to an 88. And it's very simple. I'm just going to show you this way. We take the thumbs and put them between, there's 2 little tendon cords in front of your ears, straight back from your eyes. Put the thumbs there. Then flip your hands up. And you take your little fingers and put them halfway between the eyebrows and your hairline, just at the bottom of those little bones there. Okay? And then you're going to take your index fingers and meet together up on top. And you don't need to press, you don't need to rub. It's just gentle touch, it's just contact. And this is simply telling the brain, shut off the fight or flight and bring the oxygen back into the brain, bring the blood back into the brain. Because when we go into fight or flight, what happens is the body takes a bunch of blood out of the front of the brain and puts it into the back of the brain, where your instinctual survival mode takes over. But when that takes over, it's really hard to think. It's really hard to use your executive function. And this will pull it back up into the brain. And that shuts off the fight or flight, which then increases your oxygen and increases your ability to use your frontal cortex and allows your executive function to get back into control. And again, you simply hold it until you feel something change, whether it's a breath or a sigh or a yawn, or you feel your whole body just goes, ah, or whatever it is that you have. For those who have more sensitive fingers, you might feel the pulsing. These are all traditional Chinese medicine points specifically related to these. And you might feel the pulsing of the energy. These are not blood pulsing points. These are energy pulsing points. And you might feel it. And often it's just kind of bouncing all over the place. And as it comes into balance, they'll all start to just pulse gently together. And sometimes they'll pulse really hard together. And if you just keep holding, it'll pulse lightly together. When it gets lightly, then it's done. And whatever it is that was stressing you, your brain will go, okay, I don't need to stress about that. I can think about that instead. And in a simple way, we teach this for kids in school because so many kids get burned out in school. We tell them, put your helmets on. We do it this way. Helmets on.
That's easy.
And kids can do that in school, put their elbows down, put their head on their desk, and within a matter of minutes, they can calm themselves down and rejoin the group in class instead of ending up in the principal's office. And we've often communicated with teachers, or the parents have communicated with teachers, that this is for them to calm their brain down. Don't call attention to them. Don't tell them don't do that. Don't tell them sit up. Just let them put their helmets on and sit with their elbows on the desk until they need to. And generally a minute, 2 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes, they'll be able to rejoin the group in a calm state. It works in meetings too. I've actually seen CEOs go like this at their desk for a little while. It works. I don't care who you are, it works. So those are a couple of the really quick self-care kinds of things that are just the foundation of what we do and how we do it. So hopefully that will really help people. And both of those, by the way, are in the Pushing the Reset button if you want, in the book, if you want to get more information about them, or review how they're done. It's all laid out there. There's pictures in there for you to follow, etc.
Perfect. They're so nice and simple, and the ESRs, they're so easy to use. Even sometimes when people go to visit someone at the hospital, and they're sitting in the room and they actually don't know what to do. But to be able to calm a person down while they're waiting for the doctor to arrive, or they've been by themselves for a long time, they're a little bit agitated, just to be able to do that. And it's lovely too to be able to just go over and say, just relax on the bed and I'm just going to put my fingertips on your forehead. And you just breathe deeply. And for me, that just means you're empowered when you work with other people. And I think so many times we have situations where we don't feel empowered to be able to help. Yeah.
It makes a huge difference, and it's applicable in so many situations.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. You also have products that you've created. And I wanted to dive into this because they're fun, which is part of doing the energy work. Is it is fun. So do you want to share what you have?
Well, with another practitioner, we've become partners and we've created what we call these smart crystals. And we have a whole bunch of different ones. This is just one example, and here's another one, and there's another one. And these are glass or stone. Some of them are stone, some of them are glass, that are programmed with the frequencies, the thoughts, the specific points, and all of the things that you need to balance out some aspect of life. So we have what we call the element series for those who are into natural bioenergetics or those in other bioenergetic wellness things that use the 5-element theory. Well, in natural bioenergetics, we call it 7-element theory because we add air, which is 0, and we take 5 and split it into 5 and 6. So we have 5, which is half of the fire element, and 6, which is the other half of the fire element, just so we end up with 7 elements. But then they're all the same. They all have 2 meridians. They all have their sets of points, and it works well. So we have the element balancer series. We have one of these for each of the elements. And each of those elements, then, instead of having to hold points and do things, you can just take that and wherever it intuitively feels good, some people go like this, some people go like this, some people put on their solar plate, wherever, it doesn't matter. Just stick it on your body and it sends out the frequencies of balance for all the issues related to that. This one happens to be element 1, the wood element. And so everything related to that, all of the emotions, the colors, the fears, the meridians, the seasons, all the things related that we talk about in the 5-element theory, those frequencies are just going to feed into your body and go, okay, here you are, calm, relax, come into balance. And over a matter of time, it just all comes into balance and you feel great. So we have the whole element series that way. Now, this one is one of my favorites. I use it all the time. This one is what we call synergy. And this is for bringing the body into synergy. So when you've eaten something that your body doesn't like and it's going, gah, you put this on and it tells the body, okay, this is how you deal with that. These are the points you need to hold for that. This is how you calm that down. And it will simply bring the body into synergy and balance and get rid of all of those symptoms that you were experiencing. And so you can use it for, pollens and molds outside. Go outside and you're inundated with pollens. That'll stop all that. You walk down the washing aisle in the grocery store and you put your stone on, carry it in your pocket. They're designed to just carry in a pocket or stick in wherever you want. And they just naturally manage all that stuff. So for people who have a lot of, quote, allergies, which we know are actually energetic mismatches, this will unmismatch them. It'll create a synergy between them and allow your body to handle it in a more balanced, less stressful way. So that's a great one that we love. And for this season in particular, we've just created a new one. We released it in October, I guess. This one, it's a lovely light purple. I don't know if you can see it well there. Mm-hmm. And it's called Armor. And this is the one for strengthening your boundaries. This is the one for saying, okay, I don't need that angry energy. Thank you. You just go away. Or thank you very much. But all that laugh that you're throwing at me, I don't need that. It can stay over there. You can have it. I don't need it. And it just allows you to create that space around you and the strength internally to say, thanks, that's not mine. I don't need it. Don't want it. Go away. And so carrying this in your pocket when you go to the mall and there's all those angry mobs at the stores, it allows you to just go, okay, you can be angry, but I don't need to be. And so this is a wonderful one for that. And we have all these different ones. We have one for empaths. We have empathy. This is empathy. And it's all about knowing what's mine and what's not mine, recognizing when it's my emotions I'm dealing with and when I've picked up somebody else and I'm feeling them as if they were mine, but they're not. Mm-hmm. And another aspect of our boundaries. And people who are empaths love this stone. They just keep it on them all the time. And it really helps them develop over time a much clearer, stronger boundary and knowing what's me and what's not me and dealing with my own stuff and not taking on other people's stuff. And so we have a great variety of these tools, but we've taken all the learning that we've done over the years in relationship to these concepts, what's going on in the body physically, in the energy field, in the subtle bodies, in the emotions, in the mental aspects, and put as much of it as we could into these that then simply radiate out to you how to balance all that stuff. So these are our, what we call smart crystals. We love them. They've been very popular and seen very, very good results with them. Our newest one, some people will let's see if I can find it handy here. I had it a minute ago. Let me just find it in my box here. It is designed, this one. This is called, get up there where you can see it better, Metamorphosis. And it's all about hormones and metabolism and letting go of weight and all of the things that the body needs to transform you into the best physical you can be, as well as the mental and emotional. Of course, it includes all of the, misbeliefs and blocks and traumas around all those issues as well. But we're finding that for people who have a lot of issues in that area, if they hold it for 20 minutes a day, that's enough. And you build up how long you can manage it, because it's going to make big changes for you. And we were getting so many stories back of changes related to that, and how people ate something and realized, oh, they shouldn't have eaten that. And they stick it on their body somewhere on their liver or wherever. And they say it just like calms everything down, and they don't get that food fatigue that so many people suffer after they eat something that they shouldn't. And it just calms it all down and takes it away. And the body readdresses how it's dealing with that kind of thing. And so this is our newest one. This is our new December stone. That's a lovely one. So the kinds of tools that are designed for anybody. You don't have to be a client. You don't have to be a student. The public loves these things. I mean, these are things you can give as gifts to people that you want to help, but they're not ready to go do a session with somebody. You can give them one of these to get them moving along the pathway, or to just deal with their issues that they have then and there. So we have a whole bunch of them, and we hope you'll love them as we do.
Mm-hmm. It's and for the listeners too, I'm thinking about, everybody has this idea that healing needs to be work, and it needs to be hard work, because you need to change habits and you need to do better. And when you slipped up eating yesterday, it's detrimental to the rest of your week. And then and there's this judgment that comes with all of that. And as you're holding up those tools, I'm hoping people could sense. Now, if you're on the podcast and you couldn't visually see it, perhaps you noticed within the body how your body started to adjust, because as soon as you held each one up, I was feeling different parts of my body kind of doing a vibration kind of thing. And it was responding to the signals that were coming from it, which again, too, people will be thinking, okay, but you're on a video talking long distance. But that's the lovely thing about energy, it transforms just so easily. And we can sense it and feel it. So if you're listening to the podcast and you got some different cues as you were listening, you might want to go back, listen to it again, and then cue into each of those different symbols, because there might be something really resonating for you. And if you visually could see it, then you would know which one and be able to respond as well. So do you want to share?
Yeah, go on to the website, because the website has pictures of each one, so you'll be able to see it there, and a description of what it's doing for you. So you can just go read all the descriptions as well and choose from there. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy. It's smartcrystalshop.com.
That's easy.
Smartcrystalshop.com. And we hope you'll go find some that resonate with you and make you feel better and enjoy them. Mm-hmm. Great stocking stuffers, Christmas presents. But most people, I had a few people order them for somebody else, and then they very quickly order another one. It's because I didn't give it to them. I kept it, and now I need one for them.
Right.
Get it in your hand. It's like, I'm not letting go of this.
And I think that's another important thing to say, too, is a lot of people really try to help everyone else. We are all really generous with trying to help others. And sometimes it's so difficult to bring it to ourselves. So if you are picking up something and it doesn't go out of the house, not to carry the guilt of that, and judge it, but to actually think about, I actually took the moment to give myself something, and I did take the time because I deserve it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, we do have a little bit of a problem in that, as you are aware, Canada Post is on strike.
Yeah.
These are mailed out, so we're having a little difficulty with that. We will send them by a courier, but unfortunately, the shipping cost then becomes significantly more. But we would be delighted to send them as soon as your post office strike is over. Or we will send them courier if you want to pay the extra shipping charges.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. There's one question I think that'll be in some people's minds. I know I'm just like, if this works, that's all I need to know. I dive in. But for those people who need some of the science, you've talked a little bit about the science already. Is there anything that you could add that could just kind of put people at ease to how the science works with this?
Sure. Our bodies are electromagnetic in nature. Everything in us works on some form of electricity. Between cellular transmission all the way up to your vision and your ability to talk, all have electromagnetic components to them. And we have a body that is beyond us. Most of us are now aware that we have a biofield or an aura, as it's traditionally called, but there's a slight difference between the two. So we use the term biofield because that's what's being used in the scientific studies, but most people will recognize it as the aura. And that's where do I stop? And where does the universe and other people begin? That's your boundary. Everything inside of that has an electrical process, and it starts from the energy that comes from the outside of us at a very high frequency. As it comes down through our biofield, it steps down into smaller and lower electromagnetic hertz levels until it gets down to the physical level. Well, we know from physics that that process of stepping down the hertz level creates the physicality. And although it looks like it's a solid, it's not really. It's just a whole bunch of electrons stuck together, processing electricity through a bunch of spirals. So there's zillions, like literally billions of little tiny spirals that get bigger and bigger and bigger that create the human body. And what we do with all of this is so we're simply adjusting how those spirals spin, their size, their frequency, how close together the spiral is. Is it little tiny? Is it bigger? And as we adjust those through giving them frequencies, it feeds into the body primarily through the fascia and then distributed into the rest of the body to create the changes. So if your spiral was spinning and it was kind of off counter, and we give it one of these and it starts to spin properly, as it spins, it's going to take that change down into whatever tissue it's applying to. And so that's how all of this stuff works, is that we are this electromagnetic field, and we can adjust through these kinds of tools, through tuning forks, through music, through many ways we can adjust how those things spin. And as we adjust that spin, the spin is carried into the actual physical tissues, which then get a different frequency to run off of and change how they run. Does that kind of get the basic picture?
Yeah, that is awesome, because I know so many people think they need to fix from the inside. And when you're fixing on the outside, it goes to the inside, but it's much faster because of that different frequency. And so it's nice to realize the potential, the way you described it, of how that comes in. And then the symptoms we have on the inside of the body is kind of like the last resort part. So we want to be able to change on the outside. Yeah.
So we need the frequency to change the outside, and that frequency can be found in many different ways. But we do want internal healing as well. But with that, what we're talking about is providing the body with the clean building blocks for it to create the new things that it's learned from the frequency. So it's going to learn how to do it. It's going to say, oh, now I know what I'm doing. This is how I want that to go. But it still needs the proper building blocks. It still needs the amino acids. It still needs the vitamins. It still needs the access to nutrition in order to carry that out at the physical level. So we do want to ensure that we're getting in the internal part, but if we don't program it with the electromagnetic frequency part, then all those things going in aren't going to do their job if they don't know where to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. That's great. Okay, you've given us a lot of information to think about. Two amazing resources off the top for people to have some tools that they can easily use and put forth. And then if they want to play with other tools, you have some great pieces that they can also start to bring into their homes and to play with. Is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask you that has popped up into your mind that you'd like to add?
I think one of the things that people will benefit from understanding is how distance work works. Because, we say, well, you can feel these tools through the Zoom. You can. We do Zoom sessions for people all the time. How does what I'm doing here affect what you're doing there? And that's, I think, a piece that helps people understand bioenergetic wellness better, because it's all about how our energy fields connect between ourselves. Mm-hmm. And whether we're connecting to a tool or whether we're connecting to a frequency or connecting to another person, it's really all the same process. And that's the whole concept of one frequency connects to another frequency, but wherever that happens, it affects everything related to it. So we have, my body here, I'll use as a surrogate for your body. I'll do something to me, and because we are visually and vocally sound connected, whatever I'm doing here, your body will go, oh, I can do that, and start doing it too. And that's really how distance work works, is we get this entanglement. It's called technically quantum entanglement. And it simply means that what happens to this related cell or energy field will also instantaneously happen to that one if there's some kind of a connection between us. And that connection can be emotional, that connection can be visual, that connection can be physical through your DNA. It doesn't matter, as long as you make a connection. What happens here will then also happen there at the same time.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that description. Okay. So can you say but you gave us the website for the medallions. Can you share the resources where they can find some of the other things that you've brought up?
All of the other things, I think the best place to go is lindaeasthouse.com. Just my name, lindaeasthouse.com. And you'll find there a lot of the things around radionics, around some of the other machines that we use, around natural bioenergetics. So if you want to know what I do, that's where you go, and all the various things that I do. If you want to learn specifically about natural bioenergetics and what it could look like for you to become a practitioner, or what it could do for you as a client, you want to learn more about what is it, how does it work, what's it take to become that kind of a practitioner, then you want to go to naturalbioenergetics.ca. And all of that is laid out there. So those two places will get you what is this modality of natural bioenergetics and what is the bioenergetic wellness that I do, which is a combination of things. Those are on lindaeasthouse.com. And if you go onto lindaeasthouse.com and you sign up for my newsletter, you will automatically get one of those nice little books sent to you as a PDF. And if you go on to Can Be Well, it's also on there. Please feel free to go get it from Can Be Well. We'd love to support that. We love Can Be Well. And we're happy to have that book available for everyone from there as well.
Perfect. That's great. And Can Be Well is canbewell.org. So yes. Anybody wants to go and check that out. And Linda and I sit on the board for that, and we've been involved in many projects together as a result of that. And so if you're wanting to check out what does all that mean, that'll give you another great resource spot. Great. Linda, thank you so much for sharing all this incredible knowledge. And I'm hoping opening the eyes and ears of the people that have come to listen to the podcast or to watch it, and to start to think things can be different and they can be instantly different. Mm-hmm. And it's just so beautiful. So thank you.
My pleasure. I'm delighted to be able to share the gifts of natural bioenergetics and the gifts of bioenergetic wellness with everyone, because it's made huge changes in my life. It's made huge changes in my family's life. And we just like to share it with everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's the other important piece for people to know is we each come with our own stories of struggles with health and wellness. And it's through these tools that we are sitting here today doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
And that's an important piece.
This is what got us to be the people we are today. Without it, we'd never be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, everyone, have another sip of your tea and think about where you want to go next. What's your first step moving forward? And a little bit of joy and fun as you do it. And we wish you well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell. There are a couple of resources I want to just point out. When you go to the website greenwellcenter.com, you'll have a pop-up window. That pop-up gives you the top 8 easy stress releasers that you can use every day. That's something you can put beside your computer, the bathroom mirror, beside the bedside table. A great resource. Also, my YouTube channel. It is full of playlists with all kinds of different ways that you can activate energy and bring vitality into your day. You can find that when you go to YouTube at Michelle Greenwell. And last, if you're a Linktree person, Linktree, linktr.ee/Greenwell Center. That has all my resources in one spot. Those are for intricate little things that you can't get everywhere. And it's a wonderful way for me to be able to share all the different aspects of the kind of work I do. So thank you for listening. Be sure to drink that tea. And if you want to have the tea blend that was shared in the podcast today, then be sure to check out capebretontea.ca. Have a wonderful day.